So this is already the second time that Herpa Wings is making a special livery Sun Express 737 featuring, well, a special livery of the German football club Eintracht Frankfurt. But how have they done? Well, that is what we will find out thanks to the great prices of the F&B shop, who currently have a sale going on, so do check them out. With that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at a Boeing 737-800 of Sun Express. At the front of the box we have a cutout so we can get a glimpse of the aircraft model inside, and on top of that we have the Sun Express branding and the Eintracht Frankfurt logo. The backside of the box then offers us yet another cutout, and I think this is a bit of a missed opportunity. We have a special livery aircraft model and we could have had a special box design. And it's not even like Herpa hasn't tried to do so, but this box layout just doesn't give them many options to actually play around with designs or incorporating things into the box design. And you can see how much Herpa believes in their own box design, given that they have left the instructions on how to discard of this box. Okay, jokes put aside, this is probably required by law, but still it just says a lot, and it is for me just a missed opportunity. Alright, so Herpa could not really do much for me with the box, but of course the main highlight should always be the aircraft model with this special livery of Sun Express, advertising or incorporating the branding of Eintracht Frankfurt, a German football club. And how have they done with this aircraft model? That is of course the main task. That is what we want to find out, and we can do so by taking a closer look at the aircraft model, starting off with the tail section, where we on the vertical stabilizer have the branding or logo of Eintracht Frankfurt. Notice also the depiction of the eagle here on the stabilizer. For me that looks really nice. And on top of the stabilizer we then find the last two letters of the registration code. From there we can move on to the fuselage, where we have the writing of Adler im Anflug, which basically means eagle approaching. This is of course a reference to the club's logo, which has an eagle in it, and the bird is basically also the mascot of the club. And of course then we also have the full registration code of the aircraft. We can also find the Turkish flag, and then towards the very tail of the aircraft we do also find a bit of detailing around the APU exhaust. If we move further up the fuselage, we can find again the logo of Eintracht Frankfurt, building a quite nice barrier between the black tail and then the front section of the aircraft, which is kept in white. Here we then also find the Sun Express logo, although slightly modified with SGE. That's the acronym for the football club. Underneath that we then again have the Eintracht Frankfurt writing and logo. We also have a few static ports here on the side of the fuselage, and underneath the cockpit windows we do find the Sun Express logo. That leads us to the cockpit section itself, which apart from the Sun Express logo then of course has the cockpit windows with the metallic edges and the window wipers. Now, moving on from the cockpit section itself, we can go on to the engine nacelles. They have been kept in all white, just as most of the fuselage, or at least half of the fuselage, I guess. Here we find the silver leading edge, the safety markings, and the sunexpress.com web address printed on. That looks overall quite nice. The physical detailing on first glimpse is actually also quite nice. However, when you look into the engines from the front, that I have seen better in the past. Then on the fuselage, just above the wings, we do have the emergency exits printed on, leading us straight to the wings, which we should also take a closer look at. Starting off with the top side, where we have the different flaps, slats and spoilers carved out fairly nicely. We do also have the markings for the emergency exits printed on. The underside of the wings has more nice physical detailing, and then of course we do also have these winglets on the 737-800, where I think Herpa has done a fairly decent job overall. Then we can also take a quick look at the landing gear. That is of course the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all their 737-800 at the moment. The main landing gear looking just fine. The front landing gear, it's not as bad as, for example, with the A320 family, but at least they could have added some printed detailing. Then on the belly of the aircraft, we do have a hole in the fuselage for a stand that is not included with this aircraft model, but it doesn't destroy any printed details here, so yeah, I guess I can live with it, although it still doesn't make much sense. Then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft, and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Boeing 737-800 in the special Eintracht Frankfurt livery of Sun Express from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? at a time where Herpa seems to be struggling with the simplest of the simple prints and delivers us aircraft models filled with print lines, this is a breath of fresh air. It is a relief because it's not just, and that is of course just my personal opinion, a really nice livery, even though I don't support that football club, but that's a nicely executed livery. But Herpa has also executed very nice on actually bringing that livery onto their aircraft model. Bringing the eagle, for example, that we find on the tail of the aircraft into this print, and it is sharp, there is no smudges, the edges are clean. That's great work, and I just wonder why it is possible on this aircraft model and then they struggle with much simpler liveries of other airlines. So yes, I applaud Herpa for this aircraft model because they have given us a nice scale 500 model. This livery executed as Herpa has done on this aircraft model, on the 737 mode, which is also in my opinion really good from Herpa Wings, is a nice combination. So the only real issue I have with this aircraft model, that is the recommended retail price of Herpa Wings. And sure, I get that an aircraft model like this, not maybe so much because of the intricate livery, but more because you have an additional license to the football club, may cost a bit more than maybe other aircraft models out there, but 43 euros recommended retail price from Herpa Wings for this aircraft model. And it can be as good as we see it here. It doesn't matter how good the print is. It is not 43 euros worth. That is a moon price. That is rip-off. And honestly speaking, no one should pay the recommended retail price. And luckily for us collectors, many retailers do give discounts. But of course, that discount is not coming out of the pocket of Herpa. They have made their profits with this. It's coming out of the pocket of the retailers. And we need the retailers. We also need Herpa, but they need to set fair prices. 43 euros is not a fair price. Despite that, I still say that if you can get it at a fair price, then yes, it is worth having in one's collection because it is a nice scale 500 aircraft model. And on that note, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed this video, then feel free to leave a like. If you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? And with that, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.